Percentages are just fractions with a denominator of 100. So here 74 hundredths of the large rectangle is shaded. And we already know about hundredths because we know that 74 hundredths is written 0.74 as a decimal. We know that the second place value after the decimal point is the hundredths place value column. A percentage is just a different way of expressing a hundredth, so this is 74%. So here we have 57 parts out of 100 coloured. What is this as a fraction, a decimal, and a percentage? It's 57 over 100, or 57 hundredths. It's 0.57, and it's also 57%. And what do we have here? We have 30 hundredths, which we could simplify to 3/10. We have 0.3, and remember we don't need to write 0.30 because the number 0.3 already tells us that we have exactly 3/10 and no extra hundredths. And we have 30%. So pause the video and see if you can change these decimals to percentages. We have 97%, 61%, 50%, because remember a percentage is a fraction over 100, and if we have 5/10, we have 50 hundredths, 5%, 30%, and 9%. Now pause the video and change these fractions to percentages. As they're all already fractions over 100, this is easy. We have 42%, 3%, 30%, and 8%. To express fractions as percentages, change them to equivalent fractions with a denominator of 100. So I got 17 out of 20 on my maths test. What was my score as a percentage? Well, 17 out of 20 can be written as 17 over 20, but with percentages, we need a fraction over 100. So we need to find a fraction equivalent to 17/20, which has a denominator of 100. To get from 100, or to get to 100 from 20, we multiply by 5. So we need to work out 17 times 5. That's 85. So now that we've found our equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100, we know our percentage, 85%. So we found our equivalent fraction to get our percentage. So as we had 17 out of 20, but wanted our percentage, we needed to find an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. So now, imagine I got 9 out of 10 on my maths test. What was my score as a percentage? Well, we can find our equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100, and that's our percentage. So again, we found our equivalent fraction to get our percentage. Now how about 3 out of 5? What's that as a percentage? Well, 100 divided by 5 is 20, so 5 times 20 is 100. 3 times 20 is 60, so that's my percentage. So remember, as long as we can find an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100, we can write a percentage. So what is 1/4 as a percentage? 100 divided by 4 is 25, so 4 times 25 is 100, 1 times 25 is 25, so we have 25%. Now pause the video and see if you can write 1/2 and 3/50 as a percentage. We find our equivalent fraction and we have our percent. And again we find our equivalent fraction and that gives us our percentage. Now this is much harder. What is 1/8 as a percentage? This is tricky because 100 isn't a multiple of 8. If we divide 100 by 8, 10 divided by 8 is 1 remainder 2, but then 20 divided by 8 is 2 remainder 4, so we need to extend our question to the 10th place before moving the remainder. Now we need to remember to write the decimal point in our answer, and 40 divided by 8 is 5. So 8 times 12.5 is 100. 1 times 12.5 is of course 12.5. So we have 12.5 over 100, or 12.5%. And 1/3 is the most confusing percentage. If we divide 100 by 3, we get 33.33, and if we were to keep going, the 3's would go on forever. So when that happens, we say recurring to mean going on forever. So we have 33.3 recurring, which is a very strange percentage.